Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to another webinar number 32 of our Managing Your Small Business Through the Pandemic series. It's great to have you back. It's great to be back here 32 weeks in a row. And we plan to be back about every Wednesday until the foreseeable future. So thank you for joining us. I know many of you have been along for the ride a long time, and it's great having you back. And we're going to continue to mix in some great guest speakers. Of course, we got one today. And to keep talking about the topics that you want to talk about, and that is a lot of the relief programs for pandemic. So my name is Kelly Bearden, and I am the director of the CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center, or SBDC as we're commonly referred to as. And we're part of the national SBDC program that is in all 50 states and six properties or territories throughout the world. 56 programs in all. In California, you know that there's six different regions, and we're part of the Central California region. And our Central California region has centers in downtown Bakersfield, in San Luis Obispo, also in Monterey, Modesto, Merced, and in Clovis. So reach out to any of the centers that you might be part of, that you have a business there, or maybe you live there and have a business somewhere else. Reach out to your center and see if there's some services that they can provide you. We still have our consultants working one-on-one and doing a lot of things in a lot of different spaces to assist businesses during these very trying needs. So again, it's great to have you. And part of this region, I kind of teased this last week. I told you that we were going to do our first live event. And normally in the Central California region, our 14 county area, we award six small business awards, five of them to actually businesses, and one to a champion or a stakeholder who is vital to the program's success in our 14 counties. So this year, one of our clients was the Central California SBDC Family Business of the Year. And we got to go out there last Wednesday after the webinar and had a great little reception actually in person. Wow, it was really weird. An live presentation. Got to see people, talk to them. It was amazing. So it was really something to get out there, and we had local representatives, local political offices represented from the assembly, from the county board of supervisors, the Kern County board of Supervisors, and also the U.S. House of Representation. And actually, you'll see that the winners there are R&M Farm Service Inc. of Wasco, California. Mike and Maggie Martin and their son Miguel and other family members are present. You'll see Mike is actually holding the award that blends into his shirt almost perfectly. Good camouflage job there. But there is an award there. It's quite nice. It was just a really nice way to recognize a small business and ag business that's so vitally important when you see a small business like this come along that provides really a really interesting niche. And that was to basically recycle waste from other local farms and actually then recycle that waste into a organic compost material that is sold back to local farmers. And also now, with the SBDC's assistance somewhat, they purchased a bagging machine and are now composting, putting the bags in compost where they're in 10-pound bags for Amazon, 40-pound bags for your hardware stores and your big box home improvement centers, and going about it that way. They also planted that lovely pistachio orchard behind them. So congratulations to R&M Farm Services Inc. And the next day we got to travel up to Tehachapi where we had the region's champion, the stakeholder of the year, Mr. Greg Garrett, who's the city manager of Tehachapi, California. And I can just tell you, like I did at that when Greg received the award there, that the city of Tehachapi has been phenomenal, a phenomenal partner of the SBDC. They have worked tirelessly to assist us in getting the word out to their businesses. Their businesses routinely, not this year, but routinely win one of these regional awards because we are so ingrained in the Tehachapi way of doing things in the city of Tehachapi. And this was a great way to honor Greg for the great service and leadership. It really comes down to the leadership that he provides that community And it's really a top-down approach that comes down from Mayor Susan Wiggins and the council to Greg, and all the way throughout the community to the various organizations, Chamber of Commerce, they have an economic development group, etc., that really make a difference in that community. And in my 8 years of being in this region, I cannot tell you how much this community has grown and how their small business community is so impactful in the everyday lives of their community and their citizens. So, Mr. Garrett, congratulations, and it was great getting out and doing that. So that's a little bit about a little added on to the regional aspect of things today. Um, Webinar Wednesday comes to you through a variety of different sponsors, and we're very proud to be have various sponsors that enable us to bring this to you. Kern County, California, the CSU Bakersfield BPA. We're powered by SBA, and we're part of the Blue Tech Valley program, as well as the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. And of course, last week, back in office, back in the studio, Mid-State Development Corporation. And it was great to be back with the largest, in the office of the largest SBA lender in Kern County by volume. So our sponsors make it happen. And so what's up today? Today, we're going to do our update on the state and the local programs and reopening and kind of what's going on as far as the statewide guidance in opening up California. We've really kind of been focusing a little bit on this over the last 5 or 6 weeks after we changed to the new format, and we've embraced it and trying to deliver and trying to make a difference in that way. A little bit on the forgiveness update. We're going to have a little forgiveness update. And one thing, if you were on last week's webinar, you got a very strong dose of PPP forgiveness, almost the entire webinar on PPP forgiveness. So if you want more on that and missed last week's webinar, you can go to our YouTube channel and get webinar number 31. But we're going to talk about something that was a little bit kind of rushed last week, and that is the 2 old PPP forms. We'll discuss that briefly and look at those forms and how you can differentiate between the EZ and the old standard 5-page form. Stimulus and other news. We got a great guest speaker we'll introduce in just a little bit. But first, we're going to do a poll. And as always, we'll take your questions at the end. We'll send out a survey at the end of the actual webinar. So if you have a question on any topic whatsoever, the Q&A box is going to be open, and that's where we're going to go in the Q&A, the question and answer box. And we will do that after we hear from Mr. Kurt Friedmann. So coming up still, but put your questions in that box, and away we shall go at that time. So right now we're going to shift to our polls. And the one thing also is I wanted, before I leave questions and answers, is that I've been receiving some great questions from you, and I plan on answering those. A lot of them are very specific, and they're going to require either a little more conversation. They're going to require maybe a longer email, or maybe they're just so specific they don't really cover the broad audience as well as many as the others. So with that, if you sent me an email question, we'll be getting back to you on those. So please be a little bit patient. I might reach out to you and even want to talk to you on the phone or set you up and do a Zoom conference, which we're starting to do with more on the PPP forgiveness and some of the unique situations we're seeing that are really some great questions that are coming up. But on to the polls. We do have polls today, as usual. The first poll is going to it's going to mirror a poll that we did about in mid-July, and we're going to launch that. And it is going back to the stimulus, a big topic here. It's been a little bit quiet while stimulus became a rather quiet topic. It became a little bit topic on the webinar as well. But we're back. We're going to want to compare this with our July 22nd when we're done. But the poll question is going to be, what would you like to see in a future stimulus bill? So let's launch what you would like to see in a future stimulus bill, another round of PPP for hard-hit businesses, a second stimulus check, liability protection, also funding for state and local governments, and also extending the $600 unemployment benefit. So those are all things that are being debated with people with higher pay grades than I get personally. So when they get us something, we will come back and report on it. But well, I always like to know what you want as our businesses out there and the ones that are most dramatically affected by the pandemic, the small business owner. So voted up, we have about half of you that have voted now. It looks like the two most popular topics are right on the top. Um, and give you another couple seconds to vote and we'll share the polls. But another round of PPP. I am not surprised to see that, given the popularity of the program, how great it was. But we're going to close the voting with 77% of you voting. Thank you for voting. We're going to end the poll and now share the results. And there you go. 43% would like another round of PPP for hard hit businesses. 32% are really kind of would like to see that $1,200 per individual again. And then a three-way tie at the end. And I think when we look at some of the numbers that we see there, 43% PPP, 32, and then all nines. I think they're also going to see a little bit of a difference from last time when we voted about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. So we'll stop sharing that poll and then ask the next poll question, which is going to be, a little bit of what's been going on in the politics of the situation is how much should the next stimulus bill cost? Should it be a big one, a $2 trillion or more, a skinny stimulus, a trillion, or no stimulus for now, no trillion? So you got a choice, a 0, a 1, a 2, a big stimulus, a skinny stimulus, or no stimulus. So these are the battles that are being waged in Washington right now. And when they get us a stimulus, we'll tear it apart and dissect it here. Speculated on it long and hard, and tired of speculating on it. So we have about 66% of you that have voted. Last chance to get in. We will look again and in the poll. And how much should the next stimulus bill cost? Well, 55% of you say about $1 trillion or so, the so-called skinny stimulus, with a little over 40% of you favoring the big stimulus for $2 trillion, and then 5% of you no stimulus for now. So thank you. It's important to get your feedback, and I just love getting the information, especially when we can compare it to something, and that's what we're going to do right now. So comparing this information, let's go back to what we had a little while back. And, a little while ago, back on July 22nd, which I guess is a full 3 months ago, we asked what the next stimulus should look like. And we did change one of them. We took out the number 3, the payroll tax cut for employees and employers. We looked at that with the executive orders. Wasn't really a popular option with a lot of employers. So we took that one out, even though at the time it seemed like it was very popular with you. And then it was number 1, the winner was the round of PPP, 29%. 43% of you think another round of PPP would be good, particularly for the hard hit businesses that were dramatically impacted by closure. And then we get 32% of you wanted actually the stimulus, the second round of stimulus. So a lot more of you wanting the PPP now, substantially more on the stimulus check. And then the others are all down significantly at 9%, except for extending the unemployment, which would go from 5 to 9%. But we have the state and local government that we subbed in for, which seems to be a big stimulus issue. We subbed that in for the payroll cuts. Only 9% of you wanted that. And liability, I'm a little surprised this dropped as much with the liability protections for reopening that were 21% 3 months ago, but now maybe people are feeling a little more comfortable that the liability protection is not needed. Okay, well, thank you again, and thank you for doing that and looking at the polls and addressing that. It really does help us. going to change my share here, and let's get in a little bit to what is going on. Let's get on what's going on with the state these days and some others. So the state is making a lot of news with their new guidelines. We kind of, since the first week they came out with the new state guidelines, the blueprint for a safer economy, and we discussed it with our guest speakers then, Bryn Kerrigan from the Kern County Health, Jane Tamsey from the Hispanic Chamber. We really got into it then because now we have really a measurable commodity, a measurable way of actually opening up our businesses from the state. Before that, we really didn't have it. So that is the meaningful thing. A lot of people are finding a lot of grief with the blueprint. Most recently, it was none other than, yes, Disneyland. Disney lashed out yesterday when they were not really happy with their formula for getting open again, saying the state came out yesterday saying it would take basically a minimal yellow effort, and Orange County responded by saying we can't see that happening until next spring, possibly, to get that low with the testing and everything going on. And so Disney lashed out at some of the rules and regulations, saying it's being unfair. Now, Disney has had their Florida park open since July and has other parks, some other parks open around the world, maybe some in Europe. So they were a little bit displeased by that. The thing that also came out yesterday was that professional sports could return with stadiums being opened. And again, I believe that would take the minimal effort, minimal rating here, if I recall, and it would open at up to 25%, only for pro, no college sports. Didn't sound like high school sports would be an option, but those are some of the new things that are coming out from the state. So when we get to our map here, we start looking at, of course, we always go to Kern County first and click on Kern. And we see that the positivity rate for the entire state is at 3.3% with 7 new cases out of 1,000. And this internet is a little funky today, as only it could be. Doesn't want to give us the exact data there. There we go. So in Kern County, compared to the 7% of new cases, or 7 cases per 100,000, we have 5.7. It gets adjusted again, and this is now several weeks that we have had adjustment because we're only hitting 75% of the state median for testing. And I'm going to get on my high horse again because I do believe if you have a symptom, or even if you don't, it's important to get tested. So I'm going to get tested again this week. I'm going to get tested because I think it's necessary for being around my 87-year-old mother. Had a new addition, Magnus Bearden, to the family a couple of Sundays ago. And I really want to see my latest grandson. So those are reasons to test for me. And, you know, some people think it's frivolous to do a lot of testing. It helps our small businesses. That's the bottom line. And if it makes you feel better, good too. So I encourage testing if you're so inclined to do so. Moving throughout the state, we're seeing Fresno's numbers go up. And one thing, in talking with officials last week since our last webinar, we had 19 ICU beds open in Kern County, and there is speculation now that those are going to fill in November. So we still need to continue to have, again, to test, but also to be vigilant and to, when you go out in public like we did, probably do your best to distance and wear masks, which we did in most of those situations. Fresno County data is going up. Similar numbers in the valley here. Stanislaus is very similar to Kern and moving up. Really where you see really huge disparities up here in Shasta County, where their per 100 rate is almost 23, which is one of the highest in the states. So Shasta County is going through a lot of things that are different. It's going to pull up the U.S. map, but I'm running out of time. What you'll see is you'll see the Dakotas, some parts of Montana that are really getting hit hard, along with the Midwest. So that's a little bit about what's going on in that aspect of things. So let's move on to the Kern County, look at the English portion of that. and just give a brief update on what we're seeing here in Kern County. And boy, I have a slow internet today. So in Kern County, we're seeing a lot of different things, and that is that we are seeing a slight uptick in cases that hopefully does not get us out of the red, and as we continue to strive for orange, to where we can do a lot more with our businesses. The deaths, 3 new deaths, obviously is a real concern and an issue, and some of the work that's being done in some of the other areas. But that's what's happening more or less locally. Our Kern Recovers program still has their PPE program, to where businesses can get disposable masks, they can get vinyl gloves, disinfectant wipes, and gel free of charge by going through this particular process and going on. And you'll see the numbers are really getting up there, pretty much astounding. They now included a guideline, so if you weren't sure what to ask for, is by the number of employees when you do a particular order, they have a guideline now to order supplies, the masks, the gloves, the sanitizers, and the wipes. So you'll see that the number of businesses and industries, the number of employees that have been protected by PPE is over 46,000. 1,927 businesses that have participated countywide, and still a program that's up and going and still important in order to slow the spread and to get us into the next more moderate classification. We've talked a little bit about the business assistance grants through the city of Bakersfield. BCARES is still open. Their website, we usually send out the links. We've probably sent them out to you before. These are grant programs based on your full-time equivalents between 5 and 20,000. So please recall that this program is still going and must be in the city limits of Bakersfield. You must be in the city limits of Wasco to participate in the Wasco COVID-19 relief grants. In aggregate, the the city of Wasco has 150,000 people, or that would be interesting. Wasco, 150,000. They have $150,000, of which that they have available grants up to $3,000 if you have up to 10 employees. Between 10 and 25, $5,000 can be awarded. Various eligibility. You can go to the City of Wasco website, or we will send that out in our email probably afterwards on Friday of the resources that we talk about today. So that's a little bit about what is going on. One thing I want to go back to my slides. And what I'll do is come over here to the PowerPoint. And one thing I want to do is, as I continue to talk about, we have the new state metric, equity metric, that I think popped up as far as a metric for the first time. That again, they look at the lowest quartile of healthy places within your particular county. And again, that's a census tract, and usually your healthiest places vary, and so they look at that in order to make sure that the testing is available for all. And again, the Kern County Latino Task Force will have free COVID test sites, and those will be at 3 locations on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, pretty much all day long. Walk-ins are encouraged. There's no registration. You can walk in and get tested. We're asked that you please wear a mask and properly distance, and you'll notice our properly distance at the bottom of the slide in scale is almost properly distanced. So also at those particular free testings for COVID-19, they will be handing out free PPE. It depends on which one. There are a couple of them have masks and one of them has a sanitizer. You can go to the Kern County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for more detail, or their Facebook page. Okay, a little bit on now, just a quick little bit on forgiveness update and what's new from last time. Again, I'll start at the bottom. So if next week we're going to be back and we're going to be doing a more detailed lender survey. So we're going to talk a little bit about that right now. If you wanted more info on the forgiveness, the latest information we had was on webinar 31 last week. We're starting to find many lenders, and this is why we're going to do a more in-depth survey for next week, is that they're now providing free of charge various checklists, online calculators, webinars, and other forms of training. So check with your lender to see if any of those are available, if you have any questions beyond, what you can ask us today. Also, there's still a big push that's kind of surprised me. We've thought with the 50,000 and less form coming out for those that had a PPP for less than 50, with the new 3508S form that we detailed last week, there's still a lot of talk for $150,000 and less PPP to be forgiven. And this push is mainly coming from small business advocates and also a variety of lenders who, whereas a lot of them with the simplified forgiveness, and it might be similar to what we saw last week, but who knows, but there's a big push to try to include that if there happens to get a stimulus bill done, or even if there doesn't. If you have your payroll processed by a processing and outside firm, many of those have customized reports specifically for PPP. And as we have said in the past, that if you can use all or most of your money for payroll, that is going to be your cleanest forgiveness process. And if you have a processing firm that you use, then they could already be generating a report that could be free, or there could be a fee attached. And lastly, we talk a little bit about what's going on at Chase, at Morgan Chase Bank. Most of us call it Chase. And the reason we do that is because they by far had the highest number of PPP loans that were made. And they had not been open, but now they are starting to email customers on a limited basis and inviting them to apply. Okay, so we'll hit a quick update on these forms, but on stimulus, I'm going to leave it at who knows. EIDL, we haven't talked about EIDL in quite a while. So, again, if you have an EIDL less than $150,000 and you need more funds, there's a chance that you can have a reconsideration done based on different facts, and the EIDL reconsideration can actually increase the size of your EIDL loan. So let's say you received a $100,000 loan and maybe some things have changed since that application. Then you need an additional $50,000 for whatever reason. Obviously going to be for working capital, notes payable, and other uses that EIDL is used for. You can request a reconsideration, and a good place to go would be the reconsideration webinar tomorrow. And that is going to be hosted by the SBA Fresno District Office, and it's at 11 o'clock. We'll try to get information out on that, or if you can email me specifically for any of these particular issues or other questions at kbearden@csub.edu. Okay, one last thing, and then I am introducing our speaker, and that is I just want to do a little bit of a share here and go back online a second and kind of look at the forms that we were talking about. And these particular forms are going to be, it's going to be basically, here we go, the top of the EZ form. And didn't really touch this as well as I would have liked to last week, but recall we covered all three forms, the 3508, 3508 EZ, and the new short form. So at the top of, and this is either the top of the form or the top of the checklist, you can actually see something really kind of clear here, and that is there's really a roadmap up here in order to actually use the EZ form. In most of our examples last week, we were able to use the EZ forms, and it's because we basically followed this roadmap. And I'm not going to read all this to you. It's just that it's available at the top of the 3508 EZ form, readily available online, or we may include it with the resources this week. But do look at these and note that it is relatively simple by just looking at these three scenarios, and you only need one of them. If you cover this one, which now is pretty much inclusive with the short form number 1 If not, you will need to do this one, which is 2 different parts. Most of the parts deal with either the 25% reduction in wages or employee reduction, and also then provides you the safe harbor where if your business was significantly impacted, you could check the box and move on down the road. So that is that. Um, so let's move on. We got a guest speaker today, and he's really a great topic, really a great resource, and really a great program. And it brings me great satisfaction to be able to introduce him. So, doing my new share, getting back over here. Hey, Kurt Friedmann. Kurt Friedmann is with us. Kurt is an experienced entrepreneur, sales leader, and board member with a 20-year history of working with high growth companies. An advisor, investor, and mentor to over 150 startup companies throughout North America. He has co-founded nonprofit entities that provide mentoring to over 50,000 students through 3,000 mentors. And I hope you touch on this a little bit, Kurt. Being from a higher education, I saw this and I was fascinated by it. Kurt is also skilled in the lean startup, and the lean startup, at least for me, is really one of the best methodologies that I have seen come in many decades. And Kurt and I had a nice conversation on the lean startup and the company business model canvas. Some great new things that are happening. Kurt has a strong background in management, business finance, and consulting, receiving his degree from business finance from California State University, San Luis Obispo. Kurt, that's a great degree. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you with us. Take it away.
Oh, thanks, Kelly. And thank you all for being here. It's really my pleasure to be here with you. I'm going to go ahead. Kelly, are you able to see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Looks great.
So I'm from San Luis Obispo, as Kelly mentioned, and I am a SBDC consultant, advisor, mentor. As Kelly mentioned, my passion is around mentoring, especially small businesses and students. I mentor in student programs throughout the United States, and just enjoy spending my retirement helping out small businesses and students who want to get into entrepreneurial programs. And so in San Luis Obispo, well, I'll start off this way. In any economic client, and especially in this pandemic economic client, it's super important to figure out who your clients really are and make sure that you're creating really great awareness with them. So it's just super important to have a great marketing plan in place. And that's tough in any environment, but especially in this pandemic environment. Maybe the offerings that you make to some of your clients change, and it's important to have some type of plan. Moreover, if you want to get investment for your company and you're looking out to investors, you're going to have to be able to explain your competitive advantage and some of the advantages in your business through a marketing plan in order to get that type of funding. And then internally, it's super important for everyone in your company to be able to understand what the value is that you're bringing to your clients and be able to say that in some really simple and easy to understand words. And it would seem like that's super easy, but it's not. And so as one of the services, we wanted to take a look at how can we make it easier for our SBDC clients to solve a couple of key problems. In particular, how can we make it easier for them to develop and communicate a professional marketing plan that they can use internally or that they can use to go raise funding, and so that they can do better marketing programs overall to attract more clients. And so the current issues that we were seeing with clients in San Luis Obispo's Small Business Development Center were that they really lacked a marketing strategy. There was nothing formal at all. And so it was difficult for them to articulate their strategy and their plan to employees, to investors, or to the market at large, including customers. Investors in turn felt really unconfident and uninformed. And then the consultants like me that needed to support these businesses didn't really have the support and collaboration tools that we needed to provide the support that we like to provide to our clients. And so what did we do? We went out searching for a marketing service, and we found this entity called Demand Metric, who specializes in nothing but creating practical tools and guides and templates and best practices for marketers to use. And many of these tools you can use in your own business. And rather than look at their entire offering, we asked Demand Metric to collaborate with us on creating a really simple marketing plan tool that any of you could use in your business. And it was our goal to be able to do that inexpensively and actually to be able to provide you all with a free template and a free resource that you could use to do all the things that I mentioned earlier. So that's exactly what we did. We created a template and we launched this pilot program in San Luis Obispo with about 6 different startups to find out whether this worked or not. One of the clients, I'll just highlight one of them, was a company called WildNote. They are a data collection software company for environmental professionals. So all of those environmental protection guidelines and that kind of thing that companies need to follow, and the people that do consulting for that, WildNote provides the software for tracking all that. And what they were really looking for was a best practice marketing plan, some type of tool so that they could collaborate together with mentors like me and stakeholders and employees internally about that project and a place to put everything. And then they were also looking for some support from us as consultants to make sure that their plan looked great. So we worked in conjunction with them, and they felt like, you can look at the quote down here. They said, as a startup, we feel like the big picture is always just out of reach in terms of marketing. And they felt that the Demand Metric marketing plan pulled the missing pieces together, helping them to build a comprehensive marketing plan and communicate it to others. And for their business, they felt that that was a game changer. So let's go in and look and try to find out why they felt that way. So I'll show you the different parts of the program. That's 3 parts. The first is that we created a really easy to use, simple to follow marketing plan template that's based in PowerPoint. It has about 16 slides. I'll show you those slides. You can go ahead and brand it with your name, and in not too long of a period of time, it'll guide you through exactly what you need to do to create a really nice professional marketing plan. The second part was that they needed a place to house all of the information that they gathered to put their marketing plan together. And they wanted a way to run that marketing plan kind of as a project. So there's a project tool in here that allows you to take a step-by-step approach. And this is provided as a template that shows you each step that you would need to go through and gives you the tools that you would need in each step. And you could take these different cards and move them to wherever you wanted to show what was in progress, what was ready for review, and what was next up. And so this is actually a really powerful tool in itself to manage any project that you wanted to manage. And we were able to get Demand Metric to throw that into our pilot program and into our offering for you all. And it's just a fantastic tool. If any of you are familiar with a project management tool called Trello, it's very simple, very similar to that and simple to use. So this is how we track everything. And then within that, that project management tool, I, as a consultant, can download all kinds of documents that I think might be helpful to a client like you all, or like WildNote in this case, and I can communicate with them through the tool directly regarding the project. So it's really fantastic for me as a consultant, because week in, week out, I can just be able to communicate very quickly, very clearly, and see exactly where the team is in terms of getting their marketing plan together. So the great part about this marketing plan is that you can use it standalone if you want. You can use it in conjunction with a project tool, which is very helpful to keep everything organized. And then you can use that project tool in conjunction with someone like me or one of the consultants in your local small business development center who is there to help you. All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to just show you the template real quick. I'm going to speed through this and show you the different slides and what's involved in this marketing plan. You can just put your company logo right here. It's all designed and ready to go. If you wanted to change anything, you can change any of the colors or anything that you want to have, but this would be the cover page to your marketing plan. The first thing in the marketing plan, we developed this thing called a marketing strategy canvas. And this canvas has everything that you need in simple form for a complete marketing plan all on one page. So it allows you to say, hey, here's the type of content that we'll need. These are the channels or the places our customers hang out in and the way that we reach them. These are some of our customers' pains and gains that they're experiencing right now. This is our ideal customer, our vision, our mission, our value proposition, which is the things that we bring of value to our customer and the benefits and some of the features that we have, our market size, our segments that we serve, our competitors, why we have an unfair advantage over our competitors, our budget for marketing, and some of our goals and metrics that we use to measure whether our marketing is a success or not. And we like to use these canvases to go ahead and put down our assumptions about some of the things that we don't know here, and then go find out ways to test those assumptions. So at the beginning of the marketing plan, we could just fill out what we think our value proposition is and who we think our competitors are and what we think our company's vision is and mission and so on and so forth. And then working through the plan that I'm going to show you, we answer those a lot of those questions, and then we get a canvas, a marketing strategy canvas that is complete with things that we know, not just guesses that we think. And that is really, really a helpful tool to be able to show your team, show an investor, or show or be able to figure out what it is that you want to do in your marketing for reaching customers and making sure that they know who you are and are satisfied. So the first slide is really simple. You just enter your vision statement here. For example, our vision is to inspire and guide every startup founder to success. That would be a personal vision of mine and in collaboration with Demand Metric. A mission statement here. Our mission is to provide startup founders with resources, tools, training, and expertise to help help them succeed in launching their new venture. And on all of these pages, there are links at the bottom, and you can click on those, and that'll open up a tool that'll help you create a really great vision and mission statement. Most companies out there have trouble accurately stating a vision and mission statement, and it's that vision and mission statement that guides everything else that you do with your company and marketing. The next slide is about your core values. And I'm not going to go too far into this. I'm going to start going through some of these slides and just show you what's in the plan. But you can go ahead and put down some of the values that your company lives by and some of the promises that you make to your customers. Good for everyone in your organization to know what those are. Your key market segments. These would be the segments here, the estimated size of those segments, the attractiveness, and the revenue that you hope to achieve in each of those different segments. What your ideal customer profile is, what some of the demographics are, what their annual revenue is, the number of employees, what industry in, how they think in regard to their culture, their growth orientation and technology, how they behave, in terms of what kind of engagement we need to have with them, their needs, and how they buy things from you, and their situation, their environment, their technology environment, their geographical location, and other things. You can customize these as you want, but it really gives your team members and any other stakeholders a good idea of what your ideal customer profile looks like. Then we give you a little page to be able to put down what your different buyer personas might look like. And these are different types of people that would be buying from you. And we can go and say, you can put a picture of what they might look like. You can put their title up here, and you can just list down what their decision-making processes are, some of what they like and dislike, what their habits and skills are, what their buying power is, what their purchasing process is. And this helps us form, when we understand buyer personas, helps us form our awareness campaigns to these people, helps us better understand what makes them tick, and helps us really understand how to better market to them. So super important to have buyer personas. Now, looking at one buyer persona, for example, we give you a tool that allows you to say, well, what jobs is this buyer trying to get done? And what things do they need to get done in their job? And especially in context to what we have to offer them. And why are they having difficulty doing that? We could go ahead and write those different pains that they have down here. And then what the gains would be if they could only get these jobs done easier. And then you can come over here and say, okay, well, we have these products and services, and these features that we have of our product relieve these pains over here. And these features that we have and services create these gains that our customers are looking for. And you could give this diagram to your team, to your sales team, to an outside marketing company, to your advertisers that you maybe advertise with, and they would have a real good understanding of your customer personas and what your customers need to get done and why they're having so much trouble doing that and how you address all that. Very simple, easy to understand on one page, and companies have a lot of trouble explaining this value proposition. You could take what we saw on this value proposition page and put it into this chart right here that shows your different customer types that you have, what their pains and gains are, their situation, what would motivate them to change, and the outcomes that they're trying to achieve in their job that takes away those pains and gives them those gains. And all that is all right here that you could provide to your sales and marketing teams so that they understand exactly how to market to your customers. There's also a place to put down our features, as we talked about before in this area here, what the advantages are of those features that you provide, the benefits to the customer, what the real importance is to the customer, and how this is different than what our competitors provide. Again, once your salespeople understand this, and once your people that are talking to customers directly face-to-face understand this in a simple format, they'll be able to provide your customers a better understanding of what it is that you do and help you make more sales and more money. This is a product positioning and messaging statement all in one page. The example here would be for an electric vehicle. In this case, it's Tesla's value proposition. You can see Tesla simply said, an electric car you will love to own and drive. A positioning statement for people who value luxury and performance. The Model S electric car is ideal for daily commuter and better than the Toyota Prius because of its sporty performance, fast charging time, range, and beautiful design. The elevator pitch for the Model S. Their brand pillars of performance, design, and convenience. The key benefit headlines. Model S is faster than 99% of cars on the road. It's the best design car of all time, and owning a Model S is easy. and then some supporting product features, which I'm not going to read all off to you. But again, you can give these types of documents to anyone that's going to help you with marketing or sales, and they have an easy, very easy to understand way of communicating messaging to your customers, which is really one of the biggest problems. The next slide is a competitive analysis where it allows you to go ahead and put your strengths for your organization and weaknesses and how we're unique and why customers will buy from us over our competition in one column here, and then do the same for the different competitors that you would have. And again, a fantastic tool for anyone that is talking to customers face to face or over the phone. A great tool for investors to understand, and a great tool for anyone who's helping with sales or marketing. Your competitive positioning in the form of a chart that you can easily customize to go ahead and put yourself and where you stand on these different quadrants in comparison to your competitors, so that it's very visual. What your marketing channels are, and channels are just where you reach your customers and where your customers hang out. So for example, maybe they find you through your website, a blog, a sales development representative or salesperson, through Google, Instagram, what your budget is for that channel, your strategy, key objectives, and the metrics that you're going to use to measure whether your advertising and marketing is a success. A couple more slides here. Your marketing funnel. This will allow you to be able to say to yourself and to your team, here's how many leads we need to generate from our sales prospecting. Here's the number of, let's say qualified demos that we would need to do, or qualified conversations that we would need to have with customers. Here's our conversion rates to be able to convert those leads to real opportunities, buying opportunities. And here's the percentage of opportunities that we're going to actually close into deals, the average contract value, the average recurring revenue. And all of this can be done through a tool that you can easily link to on Demand Metric that steps you right through how to create all of this type of thing. This is perhaps one of this content assets and sales tools page is, I think, one of the most powerful slides in this deck. It allows you to put down all of the content assets and sales tools that that your customers will need, so that your salespeople will need to provide, and your customer service people will need to provide to your customer. And then you could link to each of these on this one page, and then anyone on your team from one page could get to all of the documents and sales and marketing documents that they would need with customers at different stages in the customer sales cycle, from the prospecting stage through the qualification and discovery stage, through the consideration stage, to the proposal and decision-making stage, and right into the implementation stage. All of the content that you would have to help your customers on this journey could be linked right in here. And then these would be the specific sales tools down here that your salespeople would use. Okay, customer facing, and then down here, internal documents that your sales team would use. Very, very powerful page because everything's in one place, and sales and marketing people don't have to go ahead and search for it. Okay, moving on. I think we're coming up on the last 3 slides or so in this template. This would be the buying and sales process. You could map out your buying and sales process, what your buyer stages are and what your buyers are doing at each stage of the sales process, what your salespeople's goals are at each stage of the sales process. And if, for those of you who use a customer relationship management system or a CRM system to track everything, where all of this fits within your sales cycle within your customer relationship management system. Okay. Finally, your team, maybe investors and other stakeholders need to understand what you're doing to create awareness and when. And so this in one sheet allows you to put down all of the different marketing campaigns that you have and when they're going to occur in each month. And then to be able to click on each one of those for more information. And then of course, down here at the bottom, there's a link to the demand metric tool that helps you put this marketing calendar together. Okay. And last but not least, there's a tool that helps you create a marketing budget by month and for the year. All you do is click on this tool and it will step you through how to create a really nice, easy to display marketing budget for your internal team, and then also for investors to understand, because investors like me are really going to want to understand where you're going to spend your marketing money, when you're going to spend it, and what you're going to get in return for that. Okay. Last slide would be a depiction of the marketing strategy canvas as that would be all filled out. These would be actual facts rather than assumptions at this point. And that's the entire sheet. So in the last couple minutes, here's what we learned in our pilot with the different teams that we went through this canvas with. We learned that the template can benefit all clients. So I highly encourage you to use this when it's available. We learned that the project platform that I showed you really aids collaboration for your team, and that SBD consultants providing reflection gives you the feedback that you would need to get to some real quality and resilience. Finally, here's how you could get started with this. We are out of the pilot stage now and about ready to train consultants like me in different SBDC regions like yours. We're going to start that training real soon. We will probably provide free, we will for sure provide free licenses probably within a month. So I would feel free to reach out to Kelly, contact your local small business development center to get on the wait list for a free license. Get help from your SBDC consultants, and then go out there and develop your marketing plan. Kelly, I think we're right at the top of the hour. I wanted to kick it back to you for any comments or questions that you might have.
We do have a couple of questions. The first one, I think you maybe just answered, was how much does this platform cost?
Like everything we try to do for you folks here through the SBDC, the magic price is free.
Any idea what it costs if you're not working with the SBDC on this? I would imagine it's not very cheap.
Not cheap at all. For most companies, the way that demand metrics works, it would be at least $1,500. And then they have a licensing program where you pay by the number of people that you would have in your company. So, but I think their prices start at around $1,500 for their full suite of tools.
Well, I know we're starting to use it, and I'm excited about it. And I don't get too excited about too many online platforms anymore. But this is a great opportunity, I think, for our businesses that are reopening, they're repositioning their business, they're having to change certain aspects or even have opportunities to add other functions or features or sales and really get to know their customers. I look at it as when I looked into this, I looked into it like Excel. When I started using Excel, I would put basically a calculator on a sheet. I've got a little more sophisticated, but I don't scratch the surface of it 1/10 of what it can do. And when I get into demand metrics, I don't expect to do that either. I don't expect to get into 1/10 of it. I hope to get in farther, but I don't expect to. So I think by just using the template and the platforms and putting something together that can be used on a day-to-day basis, I think it's an excellent tool and resource, and I'm so happy we're going to be able to offer this to our clients throughout the Central California region.
Yeah, I think it'll really help. The template and the project management tool come to you for free. Obviously, the help from SBD consultants is also free. If you want to take a look at demand metric for other stuff that they might provide, you can certainly do that. They offer just thousands and thousands of tools. It's incredible. And we will be looking, based upon the success of this program, to develop more programs with Demand Metric in lean startup, in pitch decks, in sales playbooks for your sales team, and in other marketing programs as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Kurt. That's a great resource. It's the top of the hour. I'm going to jump into some questions. If you have any questions for Kurt, throw them in the Q&A box. Anything more specific? We do have some other pandemic-related questions, and I will do my best to answer those for you at this time. Can we apply for the second round of PPP for the first time? Can we apply for this second round for the first time? You can't apply yet. Or I think what you're asking is, if you didn't initially apply for the first round of the PPP, can you apply for the second? The rules aren't out on that specifically yet. I would think that you could if you meet the requirements. It's going to probably be for disadvantaged businesses that are at half, maybe a little more, maybe a little less of what their sales volumes were from a year ago. So that's what you're looking at there, but hopefully we'll have something on that sooner than later with the second PPP. We borrowed more than we needed, and are we allowed to use the funds within that entire 24-week period? And that answer is yes. The great thing from the Flexibility Act back on June 5th was that you can now extend it over the entire 24 weeks and actually go through the 24-week process. Anonymous asked, where were you tested? I got tested at the urgent care, and after insurance, it cost me $150. Well, if you're in Kern County and you Google, free COVID testing, like I just did, you'll find that the Kern County Public Health Department today is doing free testing. At the Rexland Acres Park on Fairfax, there are some walk-ups that they'll take, but you can click to register and do that in advance. I didn't go any deeper than that, but I think if you just kind of get online and check around, when I was in Tehachapi last week, I could have gone to the hospital and got tested for free. I've got a number of these free tests that are available around town. I went through my healthcare provider for one of those, but then when I had to do an online, video meeting with my doctor and go through the process, and I wanted tested and had more hoops to jump through rather than just go through. But I think there's plenty of resources out there to be tested. How do we access earlier seminars? The earlier webinars, all 31 of them, are on our YouTube channel, and that is located on YouTube at CSUB SBDC. So that's CSUB for California State University, Bakersfield, SBDC for Small Business Development Center. We have a channel there with numerous available webinars on site. Okay, let's see. Did we send out the newest forgiveness form, the 3508? I think we did, but if not, we will include it in this week's e-blast of our resources that we have. A couple other questions that we have that I'll touch on related to the forgiveness aspect. And let me go to a different monitor here. Today's presentation, you mentioned that if amount of loan forgiveness is met or exceeded by payroll, can you stop calculating for other expenses and include all expenses incurred during the period? I think the absolute cleanest way, if you have payroll that covers the entire PPP loan and you elect, because that is an election, if you got a loan before June the 5th, it's assumed that it's an 8-week window, but you can elect to go 24 weeks. And if you go 24 weeks, and if you use payroll and you use it over that entire time, there are some limitations for owners that we've talked about in many of the different webinars. But if you go for the 24 weeks, yes. And using the payroll is really the simplest way to do so if you have, because then you're supplying your payroll reports. Some of the other documentation that might be required for, say, a lease would be an actual copy of the lease, where you could be uploading into a site a 40-page lease. You're going to have receipts and checks and statements, but you have to show somehow, somewhere, that that lease was intact before February 15th, 2020. So yes, the payroll aspect is a much cleaner and simpler way to go. Also, question is, I noticed on QuickBooks Online that the PPP section includes a calculator. Are you familiar with it? I am not familiar with it yet. I hope to become more familiar with it as we jump into things. I'm not sure if the calculator is included for those of you that have the online version of QuickBooks, or what variations might have, but it's something I hope to look at relatively soon. So, see if there's any last questions and nothing in the chat to pick up. So it looks like we're wrapping up. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate you coming along for the ride again. We'll be back for webinar number 33 next Wednesday and throughout the entire rest of the year, even including a special Veterans Day webinar. Can't wait. So, for my special guest, Kurt Friedmann, I am Kelly Bearden. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.